So let's head back over to the Vault administration and let's talk about the work in progress state. So the work in progress state has a number of transitions for review, to release, to quick change, and so forth. First, we'll take a look at the security. Many times you'll see a no state-based security, which means this particular life cycle, if a file is in the work in progress state under the flexible release process, anybody that has the rights inside of the vault to modify it can see it and can modify it. According to our diagram, though, we're going to ensure that the administrators and the engineering are the only ones that have read, modify, and delete. The sales and the manufacturing will not have access to any files in the work in progress state. What this means is if they log into the vault, they may not actually see a file. They may not have access to it. To set this up, we'll come back into the vault and uncheck the no state-based security. And this is where we go to add those users. Now initially the list will say all members in groups. Remember, it's easier to work with groups. So we'll take this group and I'll click on add. And now down at the bottom we can decide who can and who can't have access to read, modify, or delete by selecting one or the other, the allow or deny. So in this case, I want the engineers to be able to read, modify, and optionally delete. Sales will not be able to see data in the work in progress state. Administrators should have read, modify, and delete. And manufacturing will have no access to any data that's in the work in progress state. Coming over to the for review state, we'll perform the same action. Uncheck the no state-based security, add in those groups, and perform the same steps. The difference here is that inside of the for review state, different companies will have different ideas of what this means. I'm going to allow the administrators to have read, modify, and delete, yet engineering I'm going to set to read. Also note that this is the first time that sales and manufacturing can come online and see data in the vault. Though they'll be able to read it, they will be able to see that it actually exists. So engineering will say that they cannot modify and they cannot delete. Sales can read. Administrators will grant full control, and manufacturing can read. The next life cycle is the release state. And this is a state that we want to eventually reach. The release state is the one where we have control over some purging rules, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's in this state that we know that files are ready for manufacturing or they've reached a significant milestone. We also tie some of the revision management around this, which we'll examine later on when we move from released back to work in progress. So in the release state, we're going to take everyone out, or the group everyone, which is an all-encompassing group, contains all groups and members. And again, we'll make sure that they are allowed to read. The engineering group can read. Sales can read. Administrators, we're going to allow them modify rights. And manufacturing, we're going to allow them to read as well. Now the quick change state is an interesting state, and we can talk about the controls that we have over the state. Oftentimes we want the quick change to be an editable state, yet a state where only few people have access to it. Remember that this is completely configurable, and we can change this at any time. Changes are instant, and an administrator can go and make these modifications.